on to talk about how to teach math in small groups. Instagram is just letting you guys know that we are getting this party started. So when you jump on, feel free to say hi. We're just gonna take a minute. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome, we already have so many friends, so I just wanna make the best use of your time. So we are just going to jump right in. Today we are expanding on the reel that I most recently posted about how I teach math in small groups. And I am so excited to have you guys here today. Hello. We are going to do a giveaway at the end. So at the end, I'm going to give away my rotation system, and then I'll just flip the camera and show you. We are also going to be giving away these cute math material cards that you can use for partner work. So let's get started. I am going to be screenshotting the people who make it to the end, and that's how you get entered in the giveaway. You don't have to do anything fancy for the giveaway, just watch. As I'm talking, this one is more of an information-packed live than I've done in the past. If you need me to slow down, if you need to ask clarifying questions, totally do that, and then I'll jump back to them in just a minute. So let's jump in. I'm going to explain how I implement math small groups from start to finish, and then we'll go back and answer those questions. So as a kid, I hated math. I did not understand it. It was too fast for me. Hi, fiance. And I was way too shy to ask my teacher questions. I just got more and more behind every year, and it wasn't until, sorry, I'm a little crooked. It wasn't until I got to college when I was learning how to teach math to kids that I fell in love with it and realized how fun math really could be. I finally understood it, it clicked. So that is what led me to want to teach math in this way. Let's fast forward to my first year teaching. So it was 2020. I had a class of 32 fourth graders, and I'm going to be sharing some things just because that first year was so hard, but it worked so well because I had certain things in place. We had an hour-long math block. We were using Go Math, and my second year we used Engage New York. It works with whatever math program you're using. I also had an aide in my room, and I requested that they were there during math time. So the school had funds because I had so many kids that I was able to have an aide, and then I could choose when she got to be there. I know that's not possible at every school, but I know in most cases you could ask for parent volunteers, or I'll talk about other ways that you can do that if you are unable to have other adults in the room with you, because that is a big thing, especially with those little grades. A lot of the questions that I've had on that reel are, will this work with my grade? And I think there are certain things that you can do to set you up for success in any grade. So I think about fourth or fifth grade is when it would be okay that you only have the teacher and the class, and you can totally get along just fine without that because those kiddos are more independent. And so one of the highly asked questions on that video is, how do you make groups without it being obvious who the high groups and low groups are? I love that question. This is something you can implement if you would like, just like everything in this. You can take notes and then just pick out the things that you want. That's totally fine. You don't have to do everything that I did. So I did this, and this was one of the reasons that the kids in my class were at 90% on grade level. Like 90% of my class was on grade level by the end of the year because I was able to cater to their learning styles. So at the beginning of the year, I had them take a little quiz just telling me how they learned the best, and then I broke those groups up into animals. I'll flip it around. This is included in my product, and that has the math rotations, and it is super, super simple. It's just a few questions, and it will show by the end if they answer A, B, or C the most, that's how they learn the best. So that is included in there as well. It makes things a lot easier. And then I put them in groups of animals. So I didn't totally disregard their skill level and just say, okay, I'm putting all of my visual learners here. Here's how I remembered it. So I had my red pandas because we used Mastery Connect. So if they were below grade level, then they were red on their thing because they weren't getting it. And that was just easy to remember, oh, they're a red panda. They didn't know that. they would ask me, because they were fourth graders, they were very aware that like groups had been differentiated by ability in the past, and they're like, are we the smart kids? And it's like, you are all smart kids. And they're like, okay, but what about our group? And I just said, like, you are with the people who learn like you. And because they were, and they believed that, they scored a lot better on those tests, that it wasn't like, oh yeah, you guys are the ones who don't really get it. So then I also had the dolphins that like jumped up above grade level. I just had silly things to help me remember which group was which. My monkeys never showed their work, so I always had to work on showing work with the monkeys. And then I had penguins and sea turtles. Those were just on grade level, nothing really fancy. I just asked my little brother what other animals I should use, and those were the ones that he picked. So if you can do something silly like that to help you remember. Or in that product, I also have my food groups that I've already put on that rotation system for you. And so you don't have to do that part either. We've got fruit. I'll show you like the animal ones. There's like a pet group. So you can just do whatever works for you. You could have each kid be a little thing. You could just say, okay, I'm meeting with the fruit group, and then all the fruit kids come. So there are 2 ways that you can put this acronym in your daily block. So if you missed that reel, the way that I teach math in small groups is using the acronym MATH. So we're gonna deep dive into what each of those little parts of the acronym stands for. So I'm just gonna tell you kind of how I prepared my math lessons throughout the week. So I'm gonna jump onto my curriculum map. It's also available on my shop and TPT. This is like life-changing, you guys, to have it all scheduled out, that you can see everything. It makes planning so much easier. Can you translate into Spanish? Oh yeah, I can totally do that. Thanks for asking. I'm trying to be better at translating my resources. It just takes a little bit longer, but I can totally do that for you. I'll put a note down. So here is my math block. So first, on Monday, we're doing I can understand equal groups as multiplication. I will definitely be saving this live again. The next day, so as you guys know, with the math standards, they just kind of build onto each other. So this day, we're talking about equal groups. This day, we're talking about how that relates to array models. The next day, we're talking about we're putting meaning behind this first standard. So because math builds on itself, it just makes it a lot easier when you are teaching it in small groups. So let's start with Monday. I can understand equal groups as multiplication. The first 20 minutes are spent as a whole group lesson. So I just teach my whole group exactly the same way I would any other time. So we use Engage New York and Go Math, like I said in the beginning, if you missed that. Let me flip the camera around. I'm gonna use Engage New York as an example because they had a PDF available online that I can show you guys. So you're just gonna shorten this. This is one thing that was really hard for me with Engage New York because it was so scripted, and I really didn't think we needed to spend 35 minutes doing this script. So Engage New York was not my favorite, but this is the example. So it just has what I need to teach. I would just take the bare bones that will help the kids understand what we're doing that day, and then it was this little 2-page assignment at the end where they could practice. So one thing I love about this is your kids are going to get constant reinforcement throughout the different groups because they're still practicing math. All of the rotations are the same standard. So I'm not switching to talking about addition and M and multiplication on A. It's all the same standard. It's just like an extension of what I'm trying to teach them that day. So after that 20 minutes is up, we break into small groups. This is the option that you could do 2 things. So you could do each part of the math block, like the MATH that I'm diving into right now. You can do it every day, or you could have like Monday is M, we meet with the teacher, Tuesday is A, we do assignments, but I'll jump back into that in just a second. So the students in my class got a little card on their desk, but I also have, with the rotation system, you can just project it onto the screen. That would be a lot easier. And then it will just say, okay, I'm meeting with this group first, this is what you should be doing right now. That's included in the file. And then I explain explained several times during that first week of school exactly what I'm going to tell you next. This is what M means, this is what A means, this is exactly what you are expected to do when you are at these rotations. And they're so fun that the kids really buy into it and live it too. So because when I first started teaching this, it was 2020, the kids stayed in their own little seat the whole time. One way you can make it easier is when you're rotating your students, you could have like stations that's like, okay, here's N, this is where I meet with the teacher, here's A, this is where I do my assignment, T is technology, and you can have stations and then just rotate the stations, or they can do it at your desk. At their desk, just do whatever works best for you. And then before each group, I set a 10-minute timer on my phone. You can like turn up your phone volume all the way so the kids could hear it, or it just vibrated on my phone. And that way, sometimes we were like right in the middle of having a really good discussion and I wasn't quite ready for those kids to leave yet. So having it on vibrate just let me kind of keep them a little bit longer than that 10 minutes. And then I just rang the bell and they knew when they heard that bell, it was time to move on. This is also where having a parent or another adult in the classroom, like an aide, comes in handy because like I said, I had 32 kids, and moving all of those kids took a lot of practice and a lot of you got to get up and move and do this thing. But they loved it so much that we didn't really have any issues. So let's dive into that acronym, M, meet with the teacher. So because my red pandas were my groups that struggled the most, they always met with me first. And all I said every time they came to my back table was, okay, what questions do you guys have? And then we would spend that 10 minutes going over the questions. They could also bring their assignment back to the table with them, and I would just slow down because we all know as teachers, when you're trying to teach a whole group of students at the same time, you try to stay in that middle pace, and then so that your high ones don't get bored and the low ones just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And as the kid who got lost, it was really important to me to slow down, take a deep breath, and just answer every single question that they had. Some days we only did one problem off of that worksheet, but then after they did that one problem, they were able to do the rest of the 5 or 6 or whatever all by themselves. All the other groups had the option to bring their papers back with them, but because we only have 10 minutes to do that assignment, a lot of them finished in the time that they would need. So we usually didn't bring it back, but they still had the choice to. So I had them bring a whiteboard and a marker back to the M station, meeting with me at the back table. And that was not unique to one group. That was all of the groups because they liked using their whiteboards and markers, and that was their time to do so. And with my kids that were on grade level, I would just give them similar practice problems. So if on this page that I'm looking at, I won't flip back again, but it has like 3 groups of 5, 4 groups of 6, and then I would just put random numbers in. I could even tell the kids like, okay, give me a number 1 to 9, and they'd give me a number so then they can be a little bit more involved. Or you could even do like 1 to 5 with your on grade level students. You can just kind of cater it to them. They could also help me make up story problems, and I loved like putting their names in the problems because they loved that. So that's what we did with the middle group. The highest group loves to be challenged. So I would try to come up with harder versions of the problems that we were doing, or we would play Beat the Teacher when I would put a problem up and then I'd say, okay, ready, set, go, and then I would start doing the problem and they would try to finish it before me, and they loved that. It was so cute. I like doing these rotations daily because misconceptions are caught really early on. When you're meeting with those kids every single day and they're in a smaller group, it helps you catch what they're missing a lot faster. And then if I notice a lot of kids have a misconception, I can address it the next day in my whole group lesson. So that's another reason why I would just rather do it all week long or every single day instead of just one day a week, is so that they're not practicing that misconception wrong the whole week. So you could also have an alternative for the M station. If you're like, there's no way that I can sit in the back and meet with the kids, that's fine, just switch it out. It can still be an M thing. They can practice math facts because that's important too. So A is an assignment at your desk, and that would just be like a page out of their math book. You don't have to get anything fancy. If you have worksheets that you use, like this works with the curriculum that your school wants you to teach. And then if they finish early, then they just do a fast finisher activity. And I did a live about that on Monday, so you can go back and watch the replay if you missed that. It talks all about how to set up a cute little fast finisher system. T is technology, and my favorite free websites are splashlearn.com and Prodigy. Those ones are aligned with the Common Core, and they usually, with Splash Learn, you can say, okay, I'm working on this standard, and then it will give the kids mini games that they can work on. And yes, the pickle basket, someone watched the live. And then Prodigy, I'm sure a lot of you have played it. If you haven't yet, go try it out right now. It's free. The kids love it. And Splash Learn's good too. I like it just as much. And that one's more just like a spiral based instead of focusing on one standard at a time. Nearpod would be great as well, and I do have a discount code for that for you guys in the link in my bio. You can also DM me if you want to get that, but if you go to the link in my bio, there's a little discount section up at the top. Click on discounts, and then it will say Nearpod Gold, and then you'll get a free membership. So the kids love playing games on the computer, and I love that it's reinforcing what we just learned in class and that they're having fun with it. Let's see. Did you have them turn their worksheets in every single day? Did you grade them all or pick and choose? So again, this is something that you're going to have to do with what works for you. So my first year, they just put it into the turn-in bin. And because I had already seen a lot of their worksheets because they were bringing them back to me, I was able to grade those really quickly. But some days, because I was at the back of the room and I didn't have time to like go through and grade every single thing, I had them turn in their book at the end, and then I just graded on Friday or Thursday or whatever. So, or at the end of the day, it was good to check too, so that I knew how to plan for the next day. Even if I wasn't necessarily like grading everything, I was still kind of looking at it. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, just ask me to clarify. So technology you can do with iPads, computers, and it still works even if you don't have a computer for every single child, because you won't be using them all at once. I kept my groups to about 5, maybe 6 kids. I think 5 is kind of the sweet spot. And with my middle kids, so I did have 5 groups, but then I had like my low, middle, or on grade level, and then above. So then these two were kind of like in between, or like some would be just on grade level, 2 groups will be below. So you'll just have to figure out how it works best for your classroom. But about 5 or 6 kids, 6 is like pushing it though, 4 to 6 I should say. Okay, so my first year of teaching, we had a 2-to-1 ratio of kids to computers. And it was 2020, so it was super fun, and we had to sanitize every single one of those computers after they were used, and that was also why I was so grateful I had an aide, because no way could I have done that if she wasn't there. I'm glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. I hope that you're not dealing with that at your school. So H is hands-on, and this is what most of the comments were about, probably because I accidentally cropped that video a little bit too short, because it was actually one that I posted last year as an ad to help with Prodigy, but let's jump in. H is hands-on, and it can be a little trickier to plan just because sometimes you have to be a little bit more creative. So you can create an Amazon wish list or a donors choose project to get math manipulatives. Like I had counting bears, fraction tiles, some hand to mind. This was my first ever donors choose project. They have like a bin of manipulatives for each grade level. So I thought I was going to be teaching first grade. I ended up in 4th, but it still worked. That they had all of the first grade manipulatives, counting bears, all the cute things, and I could just pull that out. But it was also COVID, so I found printables on TPT. It could be like a cut and paste activity. It could be, when I taught about angles, I did a deep dive into the internet to find some freebies, and I don't remember where I got them from. I wish I did, but she made these little puzzle pieces, and it had the angle and then the degrees next to it. So you could even do something like that, that it's like you have a question and then you have the answer, and the kids have to match that up. It could even just be using their whiteboards. Like with this example of multiplication, they could just draw something. You could give them little flashcards, like even if it said like 3 groups of 5, then they could just draw that out and practice for 10 minutes. So that is H. Just be creative. There's a lot to plan every day, but it is so worth it because the kids gain so much confidence in math, and the rotations are so fun. Math was honestly the highlight of my day, the highlight of my kids' days. Even the best part for me was those kids, like my Red Panda group, came running to the back table every time because they loved just getting that one-on-one time with me. They loved not feeling like they were struggling because we were able to answer all their questions. It was a safe place. They weren't asking it in front of everybody and thinking that they're going to look silly, which we also had conversations about, but this system is just really great. So the second option with not doing this every day would just be to have a designated day for each part of the acronym. So you could do Monday, we meet with the teacher, and that's a whole group lesson. We talk about what we're going to be learning about this week. A would be the assignments that go along with that. T, we have a technology day where the whole time we're just working on technology. H would be a hands-on day. You could have like fun project-based learning activities with that. And then Fridays were always assessments, and then sometimes we played class games at the end, like a Jeopardy, and I would just take questions from what we learned that week, and it was super fun. That was a lot of info, but I promise you that once you get in a good system of prepping this and think like a curriculum guide helps so much, or just like looking ahead in your book and then say, okay, here's my NATH for that day. And once you have consistency, you are going to absolutely love this. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Let me take a quick screenshot of everybody watching. And I'm going to put these into a rafflecopter. And because there are so many of you, I'm going to give away 2. We're going to do 2 giveaways. So the 2 winners are going to get the rotation system and the math partner cards. And then for everybody else, just a reminder, tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm having a birthday sale. Everything in my TPT store is 20% off right now. So if you want to save on any of the things in my shop, not just this project, but everything, even bundles, go to my TPT store. I also have the same sale going on right now in my shop, and that one you can also get rewarded for purchasing products. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. If you want to watch the replay later, you totally can. I'm going to save this to my profile. If you start thinking about this or you start implementing it into your own classroom, you're like, oh, what about this? Or I should have asked that. Ask it. Come to my DMs. They're always open. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will announce the giveaway winner soon.